Hey, everybody, it's Scott Steen with winnersandwhiners.com coming to you with the Hump Day edition of Today in Sports Betting. Yes, I'm a child at heart. Thank you very much. We're going to take a look first at the NBA. Man, are we excited about this card. Scott, what do you say? You've been up all night just rubbing your hands with anticipation over this NBA card today?
Well, I uploaded my Scott Selections video like 4 a.m., but that wasn't because of excitement. My sleep schedule is just terrible. But yeah, you got 3 games. It was supposed to be 4, but you've had a couple sweeps already, and you have a couple potentially long series brewing, with the Oklahoma City game being a minimum of 6, and you have Denver, which still has the potential of going 7. So we'll see what happens there. But I know yesterday it was a good day. It was a mixed bag for me because, as you know, I had the 2-pick parlay that I gave out for the series prices with the Clippers minus 1.5 games. And I'm crossing my fingers that Paul George does that again in Game 6. And then other than that, my play today was Utah team total over 111.5. And they had 63 points after the first 2 quarters. And you assume, oh, I'm home free. I just need, a casual 49.
49, baby.
In today's NBA with free throws, you assume, like, oh, that's pretty much money in the bank. And I see that they have 23 in the third quarter, and I'm like, all right, cool, you're still ahead. You can go for free throws. And then I kind of saw it coming where I'm just like, oh, this team hasn't scored in like 3 minutes in the first 4 minutes of the fourth quarter. Yeah, I'm just not going to really pay attention to it. And the next thing you know, Denver went from trailing double digits to basically leading double digits. And props to them. I question if Denver would roll over if they fell behind early, and they did everything but roll over. So props to Jamal Murray for having another great game. He's pretty much taken over the series. It's him and Mitchell going at it every single game. And, yeah, 35 points in the second half by one player is definitely a tough beat.
Yeah, when you say Denver didn't roll over, you really mean Murray.
Well, first half, nobody did anything besides Jokic. Jokic was a one-man band in the first half, and they were getting destroyed. I'm pretty sure he was the only person in double digits in the first half. He had like 20-something. And I think Murray was the second leading scorer with 9. And then, or something like along those lines. Then he went for 35 in the second half. And I looked at the stat line, and I'm thinking to myself, did Murray really just go for 30-plus? I was like, oh, he did. Okay, cool.
Yeah, the rest of that team was just pretty much worthless in the second half.
Do you think Utah blew their golden opportunity there? Being up double digits in an elimination game?
It'd be hard to say. You certainly could make that case. It'd be hard to say they didn't, although they still have a 3-2 lead, so.
I think it's going 7, but that's my early opinion about it. But
it certainly could.
Something about having a double-digit lead at halftime in an elimination game where you can just put your foot, on the gas pedal, break it open. They kind of did that in the first, 4 or 5 minutes of the third quarter.
Yeah.
And then their offense just broke. They just couldn't make a shot. And you saw percentage-wise ended up shooting like 45, 46%, which looks decent on paper until you realize, they were shooting like 60% in the first half. And
they were on fire in the first half, so. Yeah, we had the premium pick there was the over.
That worked.
Yeah, it did.
It wasn't the way you drew it up, but it worked.
Yeah, right, exactly. I actually capped it at 121.5. It was down to 119.5 by game time, so that was a winner no way, regardless. But
I think you mean 221.5. But yeah.
Well, yeah. So sorry, I got I still got those team totals in my brain.
Yeah. But yeah, so
my big personal play was just like you. I played Utah over 111.5, and that was.
I don't know how you're not supposed to play that. I know both of us questioned the line moves. The money came in on the under for both games.
Right.
And they both went over. The Clippers game was just a funny joke. That game broke 260.
Yeah.
But, props to the Nuggets for rallying. And I feel like Utah – I'm not going to immediately throw Quinn Snyder's team under the bus because I do think he's a tremendous coach, and I think that he's the better coach in the series. But you got to finish that game off.
Yeah, I agree.
It's literally just sitting there for you.
You've got to be able to make the adjustments and at least put some kind of a damper on Murray. You're not going to stop him. You can only hope to contain him. But
that's the issue that Denver also has. I know Porter was decent yesterday, I believe.
But not. I didn't see anything decent about Porter's performance.
Well, I thought he had like double-digit points. Or am I thinking about?
He might have. He was out of position. He didn't move well without the ball. He was slow. He was a half step behind every time defensively.
I just meant by the stats. I thought he had like 15 points, if I'm not mistaken. But either or, the issue that you have with Denver is that Michael Porter was expected to be the third guy who's going to give you 30-something minutes, provide you maybe 20-something points, and you can build yourself a little 3-headed monster.
Yeah.
This team is only Jokic and Murray. They have nobody else who's worth anything right now.
The other weird thing is it's rarely Jokic and Murray at the same time.
No, they take turns.
Yeah.
I was right. Porter did have 15 points.
Great.
You think you want about Porter, he was plus 18. He was 5 for 11 from the floor, 15 points, 5 rebounds. I thought he played pretty well on the stat sheet. Defensively, he's just not a good player. But Jokic and Murray both had 30-plus. And other than that, you're looking at a bunch of really mediocre players. I know Porter was 5 for 11. Everyone else, though, so Murray went 17 to 26. Jokic went 12 of 19. The other starters, Millsap 1 for 4. Grant 4 for 12. Morris 1 for 5. Other bench players, Craig 2 for 6. Plumlee 0 for 1. And then you had Dozier who was 1 for 1. So no, Dozier was 1 for 1 for 3 points, but he was a plus 21. Good for him. But I don't even know.
Those guys are on the floor. All those guys are on the floor at the same time Murray was.
Correct, but I'm just saying being a plus 21 with 3 points scored is pretty good. But the rest of the starters can't do anything. It's just you literally just have 2 guys, and then you just hope that somebody else like Porter can give you 12-plus points. But if Utah can find a way to at least limit Murray, they're screwed. I mean, you make the same argument with Utah now that they limit Mitchell, then Utah's screwed. But I think we all know that Utah's defense is significantly better than Denver's defense. I have more faith in Utah's defense being able to do something about it.
Denver played good defense during the season, but they haven't played good defense in the bubble, man. They did
in the second half of that game, but from what you told me, it was a lot of wide open shots that Utah missed. So I don't even know if the defense was that good or they just went ice cold from the field.
A little bit of both. So, all right, so
in the Clippers game, they weren't worse defensively than the Mavericks. I'll tell you that much.
No, that was ugly, and I worried about that game with the Clippers having a couple of days to draw up a game plan and not have to face Porzingis.
Well, that's what I said would happen in the game. We didn't know if by the time of recording, we didn't know if Porzingis was going to play or not.
Right.
And I said Dallas winning Game 5 could be a bit of fool's gold there. No, Game 4. I mean, Dallas winning Game 4 could be a bit of fool's gold because they might think, oh, we can get away with not using Porzingis for another game. And I don't know if that's what happened. I'm assuming that if they lost Game 4, we're down 3-1. I'm guessing Porzingis probably would have played, maybe at least limited minutes. But I don't know. I don't want to immediately assume stuff I don't know about with regard to Porzingis' injury. But I think they got a little bit of a false sense of security after winning Game 4, saying, "Oh, we can potentially figure this out." And it's like, no, you can't. You can't figure it out.
You don't have the personnel.
Not at all. They don't have the depth. And the interior was a joke. I mean, the Clippers, I know they made a bunch of threes, but they got whatever they wanted, whenever they wanted. Yeah. And I don't think I've seen a playoff game non-overtime-wise that had 150-something points in it, at least in my lifetime.
Well, they did it the other day. No,
the Raptors-Nets game. I know the Raptors had 150 as well. But I'm saying 154 is just the total that I have not seen surpassed in a playoff game that has not gone to overtime. I know that you were the Nuggets-Portland game from, I think it was last year that went to 4 or 5 overtime, so maybe that one broke it or whatever. But in my lifetime, 150 is a magical number in the NBA, and we've seen it twice in the last week.
Right. Yeah, it's bizarre. And, I don't know if that has to do with we talked about this a little bit about being able to the bubble kind of cuts down on distractions, and I don't know if that has anything to do with it. I don't know. I know the refs really seemed to let him play yesterday in the Denver game at least.
Well, I know Paul George apparently was having some mental issues with the bubble, and he ended up going to a psychiatrist, and I guess it worked out.
I saw that headline. I didn't read the story, but I saw the headline. And
I mean, it was a classic isolation, depressed kind of situation going on with Paul George, and
totally understand, those guys have each other. That's I think that's a microcosm of what's going on in America. I think there's a bunch of people that.
Well, I still don't know much about the protocols. Are they allowed to actually interact fully outside of? I'm assuming that they have to stay in their hotel rooms for X amount of hours out of the day.
Right.
So you're kind of still stuck, doing whatever from other people.
But you got your teammates around. You got people around,
But I'm saying when you're in the hotel room by yourself, you're kind of just stuck there for a handful of hours.
Yeah, but I mean, you've got guys over. You're playing video games. You're doing your thing. I don't think.
That's what I'm saying. I'm not sure what the actual procedures are, but all I know is whoever the psychiatrist is, he probably deserves a raise.
Yeah, well,
hell of a job. What do you have? 35 points in 24 minutes.
Psychiatrist. That's a good day for him.
It was a good day for him and a good day for Paul George. Mostly Paul George. 35 points in 24 minutes.
Yeah.
I mean, that's just insane.
Eating it up. All right, let's talk about today's games, man. Got the first one is the Bucks and the Magic. Bucks 14-point favorites. Scott, you and I talked about this. They have
these numbers have been pretty good.
Odds makers have been pretty close with the Bucks.
I know the Bucks have covered the last 3 games, but it's come down to dribbling the ball out in the last possession. I consider that a good line.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. Yeah. Anytime you're within with a shot, anytime you're within 3, that's a pretty tight line.
Yeah.
I wanted nothing to do with this. Did you play anything on this?
Hell no. It's one of those series I haven't bothered paying attention to. Every time I think the Bucks are going to go on a run, the bench comes in, they immediately give up a 10-0 run to Orlando to make the game close again. It's the same. It seems like it's the same thing every time. Milwaukee will go. I know Game 4 was a little bit differently because Milwaukee was actually trailing in the third quarter before going on a run in the fourth.
Right.
Usually, they're up double digits. Bucks will go on a run. They'll open up to roughly 18. Then Orlando will immediately go on like a 10-0 run to cut it to 8. And then Milwaukee wins by about 15.
Yeah, then you got
every game.
Then you got to white knuckle it down the stretch.
It's the same thing every game. And I as much as I want to take Milwaukee because I do think Orlando's going to roll over.
Yeah.
Besides Giannis, I just don't trust anybody on this team. I know Middleton was good for a quarter. Congratulations. You started 1 for 9. You're shooting 31% in the bubble. I can't trust you as your second best player. So there's nobody on the Bucks who I look at when Giannis doesn't have the ball and say, I'm happy he's taking that shot. Besides maybe Kyle Korver behind the three-point line, but that just doesn't even count. That's just cheating. But that's just guaranteed to go in. But, yeah, you got Bledsoe, Middleton, and Brook Lopez. That's exactly what I would have drawn up in that situation. How'd you know?
Very good.
Assuming you agree. I just don't like watching Milwaukee. I don't like watching Milwaukee.
I don't agree to this. I don't agree to the extent that you hate the rest of that team.
It's mostly on offense. Defensively, they're very good.
It's the team with the best record in the NBA, and according to you, they've got one player. So, I mean, no, I can't get.
I wouldn't say they have one player. I think that they have one superstar caliber player, and I think for a playoff run, you need a couple. In my opinion.
Okay.
At least to win the title, I think you need a couple. I think you need at least 2 guys you can say, give me 25. And I don't think Middleton will give you 20. You don't think it's a red flag that your second best player is shooting 31% in the bubble?
I don't know that anything's a red flag in the first series. I'm
just saying, against Orlando of all teams, Middleton should be playing better.
You would think, but we'll see. We'll see what they look like when they go up against.
I think Miami's going to win the series.
Miami is going to be the fourth.
I've said that before. I think Miami's very live. I think before the playoffs started, I had a bracket where I put the Bucks in 7, and I'm leading Miami in 6. I really just think they're the much better team.
What do you think you're going to get on Miami there to win that series? About +3.
I think it's going to be low.
+3.
I really don't think it's going to be as high as some people might think it is. I think Miami will be around +160, +170.
Really?
I do. I actually think that people are going to be on Miami in this series, at least this upcoming series. Sorry, Orlando. No offense. We're assuming Milwaukee's going to win the series because your team is average at best. Props to you for winning a game. But no, Milwaukee's going to win today. They're going to win the series. But Miami has the rest advantage. And Milwaukee's defense, underratedly, from a stat, they give up the most wide-open three-pointers in the entire league.
Yeah, I know.
And all Miami does is shoot threes, and Milwaukee's bench I'm not a big fan of in comparison to Miami. I think Miami's very live. So I think Miami people are going to assume should be +220, +230 because Milwaukee's the 1 seed. I don't think that means anything. I think Miami's looked like the better team, and I think that they're going to look really good against Milwaukee. So that's just I mean, it also depends on how healthy Jimmy Butler is, which is a factor. But I like Miami in that series.
Yeah, I don't hate that. Let's talk about Thunder and Rockets.
What do you think Miami would be in that series? I'm assuming we're in the +210 range or so.
Yeah, I was even thinking closer to 250, 253.
I'm saying I think if there was no restart and everything, I think I'd probably agree with you based on current form. I really think Miami's going to be around +170. I think Miami's going to be – I would be shocked if it was in the 2s. I expect to be high – I expect to be somewhat high 1s. And I would still take it.
Even if Milwaukee wins today by 2025, you don't think that makes a difference?
Doesn't matter. I think people know that Orlando, especially with Aaron Gordon not playing at all in the series, Milwaukee should have swept. We all know they should have swept. And Miami swept a much better team in Indiana. I'm not saying Indiana is a superstar team or anything like that, but I think we can all agree the Pacers are significantly better than the Magic.
Yeah, I would agree with that.
Yeah,
I
like Miami. I think Miami's a really good team, and there's a reason why I have some sprinkles of them to win the East and to win the finals. Are they going to win the finals? Of course not. But I like the value, and I think that they have upside.
Okay. Oklahoma City and the Rockets, Scott. This line opened at 3, and it's gone to 3.5 in favor of the Rockets.
What a shocker. Money's coming in on Houston. I haven't heard that one before.
I think it's coming in on the wrong team.
Based on current form, I have to agree with you.
Well, that's kind of what the game we're playing.
That's what I'm saying.
I think Oklahoma City has figured something out there. And
I think Dort came back, and he's been the Harden stopper, quote unquote. Now, I know Harden's been going for 37 and 30 and whatever, but you also have a lot of switches, a lot of stuff. So Dort's not guarding him the entire time.
Right.
Harden, I believe, is shooting 30% from three.
Not shooting well at all. And here's the other thing that Dort has done. He's guarded him well in the fourth quarter. Harden, you're used to Harden trudging to the line there in the fourth quarter to just put a dagger through your heart. He shot 3 free throws in the last 2 games in the fourth quarter.
Yeah.
I think that's been the difference in this series. I don't know that the rookie can really do that, but I mean, at this point, I don't know. Are you really still a rookie? I know it's your first year, but you've got a lot of games under your belt. And
he has no offensive talent at all. He's basically just another defensive specialist. He's the Tony Allen of the team. So I expect Houston to just ignore him whenever he touches the ball offensively, which could hurt. But defensively, compared to the first 2 games, Dort's been a revelation on defense when it comes to guarding Harden. Now, the series has been kind of annoying because before the series started, I had Oklahoma City in 6. And then as soon as Houston won the first 2 games, I'm like, I think I was wrong about this one. And now it turns out I might be right. And now I'm kind of sold on my stock, and now it's risen dramatically, which is a terrible feeling. I still like Oklahoma City. And it's a matter of the fact that even though Houston has the talent to hit a bunch of threes and to go up 15 points in the third quarter, they can close the game going 5 for 26 on threes, including the 60-footer at the end of regulation. So they were 4 for 25. That's the issue you have. Oklahoma City going small might actually be better than Houston's small lineup without Westbrook. And I think that's not a shocker to anybody, but that's the issue you have. Oklahoma City has the ability to go big and small. Now, does big work against Houston? No. But if you need an offensive rebound late in the game, Steven Adams is a pretty good option in comparison to Robert Covington.
Right.
So that helps. Or you can go small, put Gallinari at the center, and just let Schroeder cook because Houston can't guard anybody. And they've proven after the first couple of games in the series, Schroeder is a problem.
Yeah, he's
29 and 30 in the last
gone for 29 and 30 as Schroeder in the last 2 games.
They can't guard him.
They can't. They got no answer for him.
And that's the issue I have with Houston. Without Westbrook, I said before, who's your second best offensive player? Austin Rivers?
So where's the money coming from, Scott? Where's that Houston money?
We saw the same amount of money coming in on game 3 and 4.
Yeah.
We've seen it game 1, game 2, game 3, and game 4. Game 3, I'll give them a pass because I went to overtime and Houston probably should have won that game. Game 4, Houston was up 15 and then they completely collapsed. Truth is, I don't know. I guess people are assuming that on paper they expect Harden to just go off one time and figure it out. I really have no idea. Yeah, this is another questionable line move that I don't understand. As far as I know, there's no real injury news to break. I'm pretty sure Westbrook's not playing, so I don't think that's a factor.
No, I checked him. I checked him last night, and he's still listed as completely out, not even questionable or anything like that. Any sign that he's moved up as far as the injury list goes. And I'm just checking right now. Yeah,
I'm just trying to think of reasons why the line would move.
Yeah, well, you and I have been against most of the line moves, and we've been right.
Yeah.
So
for the most part. I know that the worst one was Eileen Portland in game 4, and they lost by about 90. But yes, for the most part, we've leaned against the line moves, and it's worked out. According to D'Antoni, he said on Tuesday he's not ruling out the possibility of Westbrook returning before the end of round 1, which makes me believe that he's not playing game 5.
Right.
But if he's facing elimination in game 6 or 7, he'll probably show up. So that's my takeaway. So Westbrook's not there. That's what I'm saying. Who do you have on Houston? That was the reason why I took Oklahoma City in the series before. With Westbrook out, your second best offensive player is arguably Austin Rivers. Probably Eric Gordon, who shoots way too much.
Yeah, I don't understand it. I think it's the wrong move, and I will.
I'm just going to say thank you and only Oklahoma City money line right before tip.
Yeah, I'll lap up all the and it's actually shaded still a little bit towards Houston. I don't know.
Yeah.
It's only -111, so we may not get to 4, but
I'm going to wait it out because Oklahoma City
had
time to make the adjustments against Houston's small ball lineup, and Houston did not because Oklahoma City broke it out in the middle of Game 3 because of an injury to Steven Adams. They didn't even mean to go small. It's kind of a blessing in disguise because Adams isn't seriously hurt, and you found out a death lineup. And Houston's been playing the same way for the last handful of months. So Oklahoma City had a game plan to go in, and now Houston's scrambling. And if there's one person who I do not trust to come up with a defensive game plan, it's probably Mike D'Antoni.
Yeah.
So I'm going to lean Oklahoma City. And for the game itself, on the total, I know money's coming on the under. It's going from 225 and up to 224, give or take. I'm leaning first half over. Because Houston always seems to have these low-scoring fourth quarters.
Right.
Because they go super extreme hard and iso ball in the fourth quarter, which is just painful to watch. And I think that's why they lose a decent amount of playoff games, because they stop actually running plays in the fourth quarter, just waiting for Harden to do something. But I'm going to lean to the first half over because, you've seen a lot of points in the first half of the last couple games, and I think that trend will continue.
We have seen a fair amount of points in the first half. We've seen 120 for two games in a row.
The total for this is what, like
123, or excuse me, 220 or 220.
No, I'm saying for the first half.
Let's see what we got here.
It's at 114.
224. I was going to guess 113 and a half. I got 114 and a half.
Yeah, so I see a split between 113 and a half and 114 for the most part, but you've had a couple games in a row with 120. Both teams are going to keep going small. I gotta lean over there in the first half.
All right. So now the nightcap, the final game there, which is probably going to be the final game of this series. Lakers and the Portland Trail Blazers. Lakers up 3-1 in this one. They're without Lillard, and this line has actually come down. It was actually Lakers -14. Now sits at Lakers -13. Scott, I think you and I are going to disagree on that line move, aren't we?
Kinda. I see it mostly back to 14. So I saw it go to 13 briefly, and now it's mostly back to 14. A lot of movement on the total, though. It's going from 226.5 to 222.5.
Yeah.
I don't want the full game under because of the Lakers bench unit, so I'm going to go with the first half under if I was really leaning any direction, because I got to assume Portland without Lillard is going to have to make some massive adjustments offensively.
Absolutely.
So that should lead to some growing pains in the first half, which I think should lead to a lower scoring half. I already gave him my play of the day on this, so I'm not going to go too far in depth. But this game really comes down to two factors. Do the Lakers overlook their opponent? And does Portland have a last hurrah without their best player? And to answer both those questions, I'm going to say no. But if you think no, then you'll take the Lakers. And if you think yes, you're taking Portland. So I feel like that's kind of where you're looking at for this game. But I'll lean to the first half under in that one.
All right, fair enough. And I do have a premium play on this. So, again, I'm not going to talk too much about it as well. But I do have a question. Why is Lillard worth 6 points on the line and only 4 points on the total?
Well, I think that the argument you could make is because of the fact that Lillard is so bad defensively, but he's so meaningful towards Portland, that Portland's offense without him is a disaster. But for the sake of totals, it's probably better off if Lillard is not playing for the under. So maybe that's the logic there. Yeah. I don't really know. I mean, Lillard's – I know he's had a pretty rough series with the exception of game 1. But he's always a threat to go for 30-plus. So you take him out of the equation, how many potential 30-plus scores do you have on Portland? McCollum?
Yeah, that's it pretty much.
And that's assuming he can go for 30 with a fracture in his back. So I think this could get ugly. But
not ideal. It's not ideal.
Not ideal, but to answer your question, I think Portland means more to – I think Lillard means more to Portland than he means to the to the necessary total because Portland with that, he's such a leader for that team. And with him gone, you got to wonder if Portland's going to handle adversity well. And I feel like that's a huge question mark going into this game.
All right, fair enough. Yeah, not my most favorite card. I'm ready for the next round to get started. I'm ready for the next Jazz Nuggets game, and
I'm probably going to end up making either a play of the day or a bonus play of the day, maybe another series price or series something. So check out that within a day or two. I got to wait for some of the series to actually end before I could actually make them.
Makes
but
sense.
I don't know if you have any thoughts on any series, but is there any one particular series that you've looked at, based on who you think is going to win the remaining series? Is there one series that just jumps off the page saying this is going to be good basketball? Because for me, that's Toronto and Boston.
I was going to say everything in the East. I like both those series in the East. I think they're going to be super competitive.
I think Toronto-Boston's going to be a war. I have that going 7. I think that's going to be a complete war.
Oh, I think both those series are going to be war. You and I talked about that a little bit before.
I'm concerned the West series are going to be terrible.
I'm
really concerned that they're going to be bad.
Scott, are there 4 teams in the East better than any team in the West?
Well, I'm sorry. You're talking about in comparison to the Lakers and Clippers?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, right now, not on paper, not for the season. The way they're playing right now, do you have 4 teams in the East that are better than either the Lakers or the Clippers?
The issue you have is with the Clippers because they had one ridiculous game, and they've been pretty underwhelming besides that.
Yes, they
so
have.
It really depends on what Clippers think are going to show up. Now, for me personally, there's a reason why I have 2 future bets, and they're on the Lakers and the Clippers, and I ignored every team in the Eastern Conference, with the exception of the Heat before the restart just for pure value. If I really had to lean anywhere, I think your best guess would be Toronto. If you really wanted one team that could potentially cut in between the Lakers and the Clippers for that best team in the league,
yes,
I think Toronto has an argument.
Yes.
Other than that, you know what? Screw it. I think Toronto's better than the Lakers.
Okay. Right now, I think they are. I think they're.
I was going to be on the fence and play a cop-out move. Screw it. I think Toronto's better than the Lakers.
I
still think when they're on, which of course is saying a lot, I think the Clippers are the best team in the league. And I think that with Beverly coming back, it should help them back immensely defensively. Even though Beverly's one of those guys who a lot of people want him to shut up half the time, and a lot of other people go, oh, he's only averaging 6 points. No, he's one of the best defensive players in the league. And the Clippers, with how they've guarded Doncic, I'm not saying that Beverly could have guarded Doncic, but he is a pest to deal with, just mentally.
He is.
I think that he provides a huge Marcus Smart type X factor that, to that squad.
Okay.
And I think that should, if he's healthy, I think that will put the Clippers over the top defensively. Because offensively, they showed you yesterday. Oh boy, I know Dallas's defense is terrible, but that's a tough team to stop.
Yeah, you're putting up a 154. It ain't all the bad defense.
Can anyone guard Kawhi?
No, not in this series.
Probably not. No, in general. I think that's the issue I have with Toronto. That's the one issue I have with Toronto is that if you're in a tie game late in the 4th, you have a lot of solid players. Lowry's very good. Van Vliet's very good. Siakam's very good. You have a lot of good pieces. Do you trust any of them to take the go-ahead shot with 2 minutes left? I don't know.
Yeah, I would take Lowry. I would take Van Vliet. Either one of those guys to take that shot. I would take, Siakam from 10 feet in. That doesn't really count though. But
I'm just saying though, would you rather have Kawhi taken that shot or any of the guys?
Yes, obviously you would. But
the issue I have is in crunch time. I do think Nick Nurse is a tremendous coach, and I think he's the best coach in the league. But
that's why he won Coach of the Year.
Yes, and I know that Toronto also won the championship last year, but Kawhi was also the big shot taker last year. And
right.
You have to wonder if games are close. Boston knows we're going to Tatum or we're going to Kemba. That's it. That's who we're going to, and most likely Tatum. Toronto is so unselfish that it could work for them or against them.
Yeah, that is always the argument with the team concept is you don't have that go-to guy down the stretch to take the big shot.
I mean, sometimes it works out. Like you had the Bulls win the title because Paxson hit a jump shot, and you go, oh, that's a genius play. Then you have LeBron who's kicking it to teammates, and then throughout his entire career, and you curse out LeBron saying, why'd you pass it to the wide open 3-point shooter in the corner?
I don't
you
think
don't want Mike Miller taking that shot. Like, you know what I mean?
I don't think they signed LeBron to drop 12 dimes a game.
No, but that's what I'm saying, though. So it's the argument that's played LeBron his entire career, where it's a matter of you're the best player on the court, shoot the damn ball. And Toronto doesn't have that one guy who you say, all right, I know this guy's going to take it. I feel confident about my chances.
All right, fair enough. All right, bud. Well, it should be fun going forward, and that's we'll have a lot to talk about with the NBA as it comes down to crunch time there and the end of these series. And then
I know that we're going to go over the Mavericks game 6 tomorrow, but just a quick question for you: do you think we're going to have any game 7s? We have 3 shots at a game 7.
I think your best shot is going to be Nuggets Jazz, obviously.
It's either that or Oklahoma City. So yes.
Yeah, we'll see.
I think Denver's your best shot for 7. I think Denver's still very live to win the series. I wouldn't be surprised to see Oklahoma City win in 6. Because right now the wheels are falling off for Houston, and shocker, Mike D'Antoni's team's wheels are falling off in the playoffs.
Yeah, agreed. No, I wouldn't. I think there's a better shot.
I think the Mavericks are done. I'm just going to say it. I don't want to immediately count out Doncic because he's completely torched the Clippers this series for the most part. Then again, Morris also stomped on his leg late in the Bush League, but we'll see what happens there.
Porzingis makes it back. Do you think does that make a difference?
I don't know what you define as making it back. Does playing 15 minutes in a limited role count?
85% or better.
The issue, they gave up 154 points.
Yeah, that's.
And I don't think Porzingis is an elite rim protector either. He's a decent rim protector, but he's also a twig. So he's going to get bullied in the paint. I think the issue you have with Dallas is that if they're going to win games, they need to score 130 points. Because Clippers are going to score 120-something every game.
You gotta think so.
So I think Dallas is basically done, my opinion. I hope Doncic doesn't burn me for 50-plus in Game 6, but we'll see. I think the Nuggets are live, and I wouldn't want to back Houston right now. So those are my thoughts on the series.
Okay. Yeah, I think that's legit. No, I want no part of the teams from Texas, Scott. That's I think they're done.
They gave it a good run.
They did. They gave it a much better run than anybody thought they would do.
It's not even over yet. We're talking about like Houston's over and they're tied 2-2.
I know.
It's not looking too promising.
We'll see. After this game today, we'll come back and eat crow tomorrow because and Houston's a favorite in Game 5. So, I guess you and I can say we don't agree with that line.
Well, I'm just going to ask one brief question before we wrap up. This is kind of a legacy question, but it has nothing to do with betting. But do you think James Harden, if he loses in this series, has a more underwhelming playoff resume than Chris Paul?
Yeah, because I think so because so much more is put on Harden than Chris Paul.
Chris Paul's had some injury issues in there too, but both these players, it's kind of ironic because they're playing against each other, and one of them is going to look a little bit better after the series. But I'm bringing it up because people always curse out Chris Paul, talking about how, you never did X, Y, and Z. What the hell has Harden done?
Well, you got to admit, you were on the show 2 days ago saying how bad Chris Paul was.
Yeah, he was awful in Game 2. I still love Chris Paul as a player. I just acknowledge the fact that he was minus 38 from the floor in Game 2, and he was great ever since. So I don't regret my statements. I still stand by it. He was awful in Game 2. But
I believe the statement was more like Chris Paul is a terrible player.
No, my statement was in Game 2. My statement in Game 2 was Chris Paul is a terrible player.
Oh.
You can't be minus 38 and claim that you were a good player in that game. That's just my takeaway. But Chris Paul agreed. He said straight up, I have to be better in Game 3. And he was. So he even acknowledged he sucked in Game 2. Okay. So if you don't take my credibility for it, take Chris Paul's about himself. So that's my thoughts on that.
Check the tape.
Chris Paul's one of my favorite players. He's, in my opinion, a top 5 point guard of all time. So I'm very high on Chris Paul.
Now you're just drinking. Now you're still drunk.
People disagree with me. I think Chris Paul's a top 5 point guard of all time. But that's my personal opinion on that. But we can argue about that a different day. But I agree. I think whoever loses this series, I think has the worst playoff resume. Because Harden, I look at, he made the finals in Oklahoma City as a bench player. I know, congratulations. It was still Westbrook and Durant's team. And then ever since, he has a lot of duds. A lot of really awful performances. Now you can say, well, they would have won against the Warriors and made the yeah, I get it. Chris Paul got injured, so that kind of benefits Chris Paul's case. And then the season after, everyone was injured, and then congratulations, you blew Game 6, and Curry dropped 35 on your head. So Yeah, and then you also have the hard no-show against San Antonio in Game 6 of that series as well, where he had like 10 points and 5 turnovers. And then he went to the strip club after the game. So, yeah, I am not a Harden guy. He's a tremendous all-time great offensive talent. But in the playoffs, I could think of a handful of guys I'd rather have.
Okay, fair enough. All right. That's sometimes the problem with doing a show with somebody that's 23. They think the NBA began in 2005. So
I'm just throwing it out there that I think Chris Paul's a top 5 point guard of all time.
Hot take, buddy.
I know it's a hot take because a lot of people don't like Chris Paul. But on both ends. Then it's also tough because you're talking about like Oscar and all these other guys who played pre-1970 or like even in the 1970s, and I can't really evaluate them.
Well, I mean, was Chris Paul better than Bob Cousy?
Yes, I think Bob Cousy's one of the most overrated players of all time.
All right, good chat.
He shot 37% his entire career. He couldn't shoot.
When you're a point guard, there's more than shooting.
I'm aware of that, but you realize that the Celtics had like 9 Hall of Famers on the roster.
Okay.
Look, we can argue about that another time, but Bob Cousy.
I think we're done.
Bob Cousy is better than Chris Paul. What just happened here? What? I can understand Stockton. Like Stockton, I have an argument with. I think you can make the argument for both sides. I think Chris Paul.
I don't think you can make an argument. I don't think Stockton is absolutely top 5, if not top 3.
I think Stockton and Paul are close, but I think Chris Paul is better than Gary Payton. That's my takeaway. I think Chris Paul is a better point guard than Gary Payton.
Well, there's an argument. Okay.
Yeah, but Bob Cousy. At no point have I ever considered putting Bob Cousy in my top 5. But then again, you're also a little bit older than me, so you might have seen him in his prime. But
I'm not that old.
But yeah, Bob Cousy was not a name that I had prepared in my list of all-time great point guards.
All right, bud. That's it. We're done.
Yeah.
We'll do the baseball side where you can tell me that Joey Votto is a top 5 first baseman. We'll go over there.
I do like Votto, but not based on recent years.
All right, guys.
Worse shooting percentage than Rondo, and you're saying he's a top 5 point guard of all time. Okay.
All
right.
For myself, for the youngster.
Yeah.
Appreciate you stopping by today. Bob Cousy says thank you as well. As always, we do this every day on Today in Sports Betting. Don't forget to check out winnersandwhiners.com for deep dives into every game every single day and plenty of comps between Bob Cousy and the current.
Yeah. Okay. That was not a name I expected you to compare Chris Paul.
Oh, there you go, buddy.
All right.
Thanks for joining us. As always, check out Winners and Whiners. You know the drill. Come back and see us on the Major League Baseball side. We'll do our best to keep this going. All right. Everybody have a great day. Good luck on all your plays today. And, check us out, and we'll be back. I'm done. You guys take care. Have a great day. See you next time. Bye.